All right, everybody, back with our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Hopefully you were able to tune in yesterday. Always appreciate the support, of course, in our community, being able to help each other out, answer questions, support each other, cheer each other on. And that happens every single day inside of CabralSupportGroup.com. So hopefully you're a part of that. It's literally a completely free Facebook group where we answer your questions on a daily basis. All right, let's dive into today's show, though. Opened up the beautiful document that my team puts together from your questions each week that gets submitted at StephenCabral.com/AskCabral. So if you want your question read live on the weekend edition of the show, feel free to pop it in at StephenCabral.com/AskCabral. All right, let's get into first question from Anonymous. Anonymous says, good morning. I was listening to your podcast this morning, 3283, and you mentioned you gave your dog sulforaphane to help extend his life when he had health issues. I want my dog to live forever. I'm only partially joking. So I wanted to know what dosage you used on body weight and what other supplements you recommend. My dog is currently an 8.5-year-old Healer Aussie Shiba mix in great health, still has the energy of a puppy, where the only thing I notice with him is some benign fatty lipomas. Thanks. Okay. Happy to answer this. So on that show, I talk about my dog, Moose, an amazing French Bulldog. My wife and I have had French Bulldogs since 2003. So we were early on the French Bulldog trend, just thought that they were amazing dogs. And, you know, my wife and I had just moved in together, tiny apartment, it was like a 200 square foot apartment, legitimately, might've been smaller than that, in Providence, Rhode Island, working in Boston each day. And we had this great dog. And then after that French Bulldog passed away, we learned a lot. And we had another French Bulldog, and he lived at 13 years old, just to make a long story short. But unfortunately, he got heavy metal poisoning, lead to be specific. We didn't know it. It was in his food, unfortunately. And that happened when he was around 10 years old. And so when we brought him to the doctors, the vets, of course, they gave him anywhere between 3 and 6 months to live. And obviously that was not okay with my wife and I. We talked to every holistic vet. We got our education and all of these different things. And I started a detox program for my dog. And one of those things was sulforaphane, taurine, sulforaphane, and a few other products. I would not recommend necessarily sulforaphane for your dog on an ongoing basis unless they need sulforaphane. But we use 25 milligrams, just so you know, of sulforaphane. And that's what we did. And we used that for about 6 months. Moose went on to live 3 years. So from 3 months to 6 months of given, we completely shrunk his heart. His heart was 3 times the size because of the heavy metal poisoning. And he had filled with massive edema, 10 extra pounds of edema. And within 6 months, he was stable. And then he went on, like I said, to live 3 years. Now he had his moments. But, I've always been a dog guy. I love dogs. And to be able to get that additional time with my kids and myself and my wife, it meant a lot. So, yeah, I just recommend, honestly, if you can, the best thing you can do is underfeed your dog. That's how they live the longest. It's clinically proven. Hypocaloric diet. You get them good exercise. You get them good sunshine. You're careful with all of their shots. I'm just going to keep it at that. Just saying that. Just, again, look into the research on cancer in dogs with the more injections they get. And then, and their, overall immune system, good, healthy food, raw food if possible, or rehydrated food, should be human grade food. And then only 2 meals maximum per day, breakfast and dinner, 2 12-hour fasts. You can fast them once a week for a 24-hour, just like the reset, the full reset diet that I do, the whole body reset, which is called 1 day reset. For humans, you can do it for your dog as well, where they get a 24-hour once a week. And then we add a little bit of fish oil on a daily basis as well. So we keep it pretty simple. We honestly do. Good, clean water. He gets hydrogen water as well, 7.0. And that's it. So hopefully that was helpful. All right. Anonymous is up again. Might be the same Anonymous. I hope you're having a wonderful day and thanks for all you do. My latest CT scan showed an enlarged liver with mild steatosis. I eat extremely healthy. I've been and have for a really long time. I'm 28 and only have about 3 to 4 drinks in the past 7 years. I think this is stemming from getting mono a year ago. I've been feeling sick ever since. and I've had complications even though I've been following your viral protocol. Is this possible for mono to cause this? Also, is it safe to be doing a functional medicine detox with an enlarged liver? All right, all great questions. So for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or elevated liver enzymes or anything like that, I recommend checking out my show on that. So I talk about berberine using, again, I can't provide any medical advice, medical treatments, medical cures, medical diagnosis. Typically 1,000 milligrams. So you can use the berberine plus if you want, one at breakfast, one at dinner. There's a lot of great things that you can do. Intermittent fasting is a big part of that. Using an anti-inflammatory diet plan, improving your overall exercise, and then maybe even using some products such as the daily detox support on a lower daily basis, which is 2 capsules at breakfast, besides your daily foundational protocol. Of course, you need to be taking all of your methylated Bs and the daily nutritional support, your omega-3 support, and your vitamin D. So all of those are a must. And then we would typically use proteolytic enzymes, 2 upon waking. But again, I can't give you any medical advice or medical treatment plans. I don't know what this could be stemming from. Could be a medication that you're on. Could be a high dose of an herb that you might be on. Could be a certain toxicity. Could be a skin product you're using. So I don't really know what's causing it. It's possible it's mono. Mono affects more of the spleen. It can affect your liver. So I'm definitely not saying that it can't. But I want to look at like what else is going on. Maybe heavy metals. So have you run the minerals and metals test? Have you done a heavy metal detox? So that's where I would start. That's kind of like, as a private client, that's where my mind immediately goes to. All right, Selma's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I love your podcast, and I'm very grateful for all your amazing health advice. Thank you, Selma. I hope you can help me with the following. Lack of sleep is a major trigger for me. After a late night, I often feel depressed, angry, and pessimistic. It's like a dark cloud hangs over me, and I can't shake that feeling that nothing ever will get better. Thankfully, this always improves after a good night's sleep. I'm curious if there are any strategies to manage these feelings when those unavoidable sleep nights happen. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Yeah, absolutely. So, so first things first, a great day the next day always starts with a great night the night before. It really does. So not eating 3 to 4 hours before bed, following the 3-2-1 sleep formula. If you don't know what any of these things are, please ask at cabralsupportgroup.com. We'll find you the podcasts. You can search for them yourself at stephencabral.com/podcast. But if you ever can't, just, again, let us know. You can also use, the old Google and just type in Stephen Cabral, 3-2-1 sleep formula. It usually pops up. But, again, let us know. We're here to help. All right. So I know what you're saying. Oftentimes when you don't get a great night's sleep, what happens is thyroid is underperforming the next day. Cortisol might be a little low the next morning, getting going, and also excitatory neurotransmitters that really get you going for the day, which is norepinephrine to epinephrine, and also dopamine, right? And so how can you improve those? Well, you can actually improve those. And again, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you have a good nutritious breakfast, so you get the nutrients in first, and you do a little bit of matcha green tea, or even just a half a cup of coffee just for the day. Again, like I'm talking about once in 30 days, you get a poor night's sleep. Yeah, it happens. Same with me. And you don't feel like your best. Well, just for one day, you might give yourself a little kick. And so you might add a little bit of dark chocolate, like literally 100% chocolate at breakfast. What does that do? Gets dopamine going, right? So it's like, okay, what's that little bit of caffeine do? It gets norepinephrine going and cortisol. So it's like you can use these things to your advantage for the day only. Take a little extra B vitamins at breakfast just for that day only. You don't use this, as you need to on a consistent basis, although truthfully, I don't have an issue with people with balanced cortisol and balanced stress levels having 1 cup of coffee after breakfast each morning. I don't have an issue with that. And the science actually shows that as long as it doesn't spike heart rate, spike blood sugar, or increase anxiety, then it can actually be beneficial because the polyphenols, but also a little bit to do with the circulatory benefits of caffeine. Now, having said that, if it hurts you detrimentally, you can do decaf coffee if you wanted to, or many people get even better benefit from matcha organic green tea. And they don't have to worry about the microplastics in the tea bags because you're using powder instead. All right. So hopefully that is helpful, Selma. All right. And then you can also, there's another product you can use called Adrenal Energy Support. Adrenal Energy Support, take 2 at breakfast, 2 at lunch, give you a boost of energy for the day, all natural. And great, you're good to go there too. So there's so many different things that you can do. I just gave you a bunch and work one at a time. And I think that'll be great. All right, Jackie's next. Jackie says, hi, doc. Question about testosterone. I've been on it for 7 years. Shot 4 years. Cream to present, originally for hot flashes, worked fabulously. Got blood test every 6 months. Question is, I took it on the days I trained using cream. When I did it for 5 days, I started losing hair on my head and losing on legs and underarms. Lower dose, hair stops falling on head and stops growing on legs. My sex hormone binding globulin went up steady all the years. Doc saying no big deal. Can you shed light on why the hair falls out and legs grow and vice versa? I really like the strength and less crying. I'm also on small estradiol and progesterone, going to do the big 5, but can't just yet. In school at present, I have gluten and dairy sensitivity, diagnosed Lyme and EBV. Thank you, and very glad that I found you and I'm healing. I'm happy for you as well that you're healing, Jackie. So Jackie, just for anybody who doesn't know, female on estrogen and progesterone. I'm assuming is young, but don't know the age, but says they're in school. Now, you can go to school at any age, okay? So totally understand that. And I didn't go back to school until my later 20s, so I totally get it. And she's on testosterone. Okay. So let me just answer the question for you, though. This happens to both men and women. When you reach a total level of testosterone and it begins to convert at a higher level to dihydrotestosterone, it will cause hair loss on the top of the head and potentially hair growth in other areas. That is a known side effect for both men and women of dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEA, converting to testosterone, converting to dihydrotestosterone. Now, DHEA usually doesn't cause this because it doesn't cause a big spike in testosterone. That's why we use DHEA in our practice. And that's probably what I'd recommend for you instead of taking testosterone. However, when you take testosterone, it increases androgens in a woman's body. Could potentially cause things like insulin resistance, PCOS, hair loss on the top of the head, facial hair growth, darkening and thickening of body hair. So that is why it's happening. You've met your upper limit. Your body is telling you you're at your upper limit, and that's going to continue to happen. Now, if your body becomes desensitized to the conversion of testosterone, it will increase sex hormone binding globulin, and your doctor will just keep prescribing a greater and greater dose. I don't love that form of medicine. People call that functional medicine. I don't call that functional medicine at all. That's allopathic medicine. That is not working with the human body. That is simply using a synthetic hormone as a drug. I'm not a believer in that at all. Again, in any way, shape, or form. I want to look at what are the underlying root causes. Why aren't you naturally producing testosterone? Why aren't you naturally producing estrogen and progesterone at a young age? So that's kind of how I look at it. And I'm very much an underlying root cause individual. If you can run the big 5, great. If not, at least run the stress, mood, and metabolism test to look at all your hormones and how it's playing out. Now, you can run it on the day where all of your hormones are high, and that can let you can actually see where your levels are at. Or you can run it on a low day where you feel pretty good, and okay, then that's like the perfect level for you. So there's a bunch of different ways to use that test. Usually for women who have their cycle, we want them to run it on days 19, 20, or 21. And we do that because we want to look at the estrogen progesterone ratio. All right. Hopefully that's helpful, Jackie. Rebecca is our last question for the day. Rebecca says, I think I may have started perimenopause in the last 2 months. I have all of a sudden gained over 20 pounds in a month. I've never had a weight problem before, and I've tried to take it off and I just can't. Also, it started the same time I had glycine supplement toxicity, which I still think, since I never detox it out of my system, it could still be a problem with my weight from what I read. Also, still have the dizzy, vomiting, nausea, anxiety, weight, sex drive dropped, not hungry, and tremors from it too. I'm 51 and wasn't experimented on by the, I'll just say, shot. My team knows to change that. Also, I've never done a parasite detox, and I think I should, but I never knew which one to use. Would love your thoughts. Okay, so yeah, I can't provide any medical advice, medical treatment, medical cures, medical diagnosis. But I can tell you, here's the good news. When you begin to move into perimenopause, 5 to 10 years before menopause, we'll say, it doesn't happen all at once, and you wouldn't gain 20 pounds in 1 month. Like 20 pounds in 1 month is an actual real imbalance in the body. And it's not slight fluctuations where perimenopause starts in estrogen and progesterone. So typically in perimenopause, Some months might be totally normal. Some months, a little lower progesterone production, especially like, obviously in that luteal phase. And so you're starting to feel more symptoms. And so, but that's gradual. That's not all at once, 20-pound weight gain. This is more, I don't know what happened with you with a glycine supplement toxicity. Maybe you were taking a really high dose of glycine, which I'm not an actual advocate of. Maybe that's it. And you caused what? You might have caused liver inflammation, and you might have caused other issues in the body. And like you said, that's why that inflammation caused you to gain 20 pounds. Because obviously you didn't gain 20 pounds of body fat. You'd have to have eaten what? What's the math on that? It's 20 times 3,000. I hate doing podcast math. It's like 60,000 extra calories. And I'm sure you didn't do that. So, when we're looking at it, we're really talking about some inflammatory process in the body. All right. Here's how I help individuals with that. We run the Big 5 labs. Like that's the bottom line. So we look at what is going on in the body. Now, you say, I can't afford to run the Big 5 labs, not able to do it. Totally understand. I'm good with that. What I would do then, but again, I can't give you medical advice, is I would do the 21-day functional medicine detox. You can go to stephencabral.com/detox. It'll take you right over to what we use in our practice. That's where I would start. Then I would just transition to the daily foundational protocol, which is continuing on with the shake at breakfast, the daily nutritional support, taking your 2 omega-3 soft gels, taking your daily fruit and vegetable blend, taking your vitamin D3, 4,000 IUs a day or so, 100 micrograms, unless you've had your levels tested, and your daily probiotic support. So that's where I would start, without a doubt, if it was a family member asking me for advice or I was giving that advice to myself. All right. So that's the good news. The good news is there's one thing that caused this, and it probably wasn't perimenopause. Now, may you be transitioning into a perimenopause? Possible, but that's not going to cause 20 pounds of weight gain. That's for sure. Even lowered thyroid isn't going to cause 20 pounds of weight gain in a month. There's something that went wrong that created a real imbalance in the body that we need to fix. So that's what I would do. All right. And if you can, work with an integrative health practitioner. You can find one at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. Click on the practitioners tab, find one that resonates with you, ideally an IHP level 2 or above. And they're going to be able to get you any lab tests you want if you choose to do that. Or you start with the 21-day functional medicine detox and we go from there. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, everybody, for writing into the show. Amazing what this community does. I really do appreciate all of you supporting each other, cheering each other on online, social media, and at CabralSupportGroup.com. I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Cabral concept. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.